Hi everyone, this is Samit. Good evening, how are you? So, today we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. As you know, Donald Trump took oath exactly 11 days back. Today is the 31st of January. He's in the process of appointing and confirming a lot of his cabinet members. And one of them, who's extremely controversial or has been made controversial, is Tulsi Gabbard, who's an ex congresswoman from Hawaii. And she is in the running for the Director of National Intelligence. Now, that's a agency that is very important in the US context because that's the agency that presents the President of the United States the final memo on a daily basis, which will tell him what are the key intelligence inputs from around the world and the US. So it's a very important position. And I think the left wing or the Democrats are really, really keen not to have Tulsi Gabbard in DNI in that position because she doesn't adhere to what they think are, the key points. So I'm going to just talk about some of the key issues that were raised in a hearing. That hearing is ongoing, and there's a congressional confirmation hearing that she has to be cleared by the Senate before she can assume her charge. Now, that's a key element of the US process. Now, one of the things that people, especially the opposition, has charged her with is that she's a puppet of Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, or and the puppet of Narendra Modi. Now, remember the reason Modi comes in is because she's a Hindu. She's a practicing Hindu. Even though she was born in a Christian family, she converted and her mother is Hindu, whatever that. That's a story that most people know. Now, there are very few uh, local Americans born in the US, born to non Hindu families who actually convert and become Hindus, and leave alone who end up being uh, the in the running for a top cabinet post in a presidential cabinet. So it's a big deal for Hawaii. It's a small state. So she has completely rejected these claims and said that, there's nothing like that. The other allegation that has been leveled against her is that she was pretty okay with, Edward. She supported Snowden. So he was a whistleblower who took out a lot of uh, intelligence documents and so on. And US has been trying to get him back and put him in prison and all that. Honestly, I have not followed that story much, but there is a lot of uh, um, controversy around her views on this. So basically, according to Gabbard, she thinks that we need to have a balanced approach on whistleblowers, even if they are from the intelligence community, and that is how she defended this. So that was her view. Now you can obviously agree or disagree with it. The other allegation that was thrown on her was that she went and met uh, Bashar Assad, the Syrian president, a few years back, and he's somebody that the US has been trying to all oust. So we all know that Assad is supported by the Russians. So you know how the storyline is building. So basically, she's meeting Assad, and she's a puppet of Putin. So basically, she's supporting Russia. And what Tulsi Gabbard said was that, I basically went to meet him, and I pushed him for doing exactly what the Americans want him to do. So that was her defense. There is uh, the other aspect is that on China, she's quite tough. And she also mentioned in the hearing that, look, no one really knows where the COVID virus came from, even though Donald Trump was calling it the China virus initially. But then the intelligence agencies got together and said, no, no, nothing doing. Maybe this is a natural thing that happened, and so on. Um, and on China, she's spoken some tough language, and she's willing to take a tough stance on that. She's also mentioned that on Russia, she's definitely going to be quite. Uh, she's going to balance diplomacy with defense strategy so that there is global stability. In other words, this is like saying that she's not going to put the Russians in a war-like situation in Ukraine. Now that's not music for all Democrats because that's their strategy. So obviously, she has her perspective is different. Uh, then she has also talked about transparency and oversight in intelligence. And remember, in the last few years, there's been a lot of question marks on intelligence failures. For instance, in Afghanistan, for instance, on January 6th, there's been even the attempts on the now President Trump, when he was on the campaign trail. So the U.S. intelligence hasn't painted itself with any glory in the last decade or so, or even going far, much further back. And this is not really explained by the kind of budgets they have, the kind of skill sets they have, and the kind of resources they command. Probably more to do with management and the intention at the top and so on. And that's what Tulsi Gabbard has called out. And she's saying that I'll bring in proper transparency and oversight. So that's not music to anyone who's listening from the Democrat side. uh, she is also a very strong advocate of strong cybersecurity measures. Now, remember, all of Chinese defense, forget about other sectors, all of Chinese defense equipment is basically copy pasted from the Americans. And this has been possible because of a lot of secrets have been stolen through cyber tactics and so on. We all know that. Of course, there've been people who have come on on the ground and stolen things and taken them back to China. But at the same time, she's talked about punitive measures and being very strong on cybersecurity. Tulsi Gabbard has also talked about counterterrorism. Now, this is again a area of concern for Democrats because let's just say, they are a little weaker on counter-terror than, say, the Republicans are, especially Tulsi Gabbard. I'm very surprised, honestly, if you ask me. I do not think we'll see a day when a person as straight speaking, as simple, if I may, um, linear thinking, in certain words, or non-compromised as Tulsi Gabbard would be in the running for a cabinet position like this. So it's a big surprise. I think a lot of things will change in the world because of this. So this is a big move. Gabbard, when she was defending her skill set for this role, she touted her military background. She's in the U.S. Army. She served at many places and so on. So she was like, a lot of the criticism she's drawing is not really based on correct assessment of her skill set. Uh, there was a lot of bipartisan commitment on some issues like Assad and say Russia. There was questions raised by both Democrats and Republicans. So that's a question that that shows that this could go either way because Tulsi's appointment is pretty much the most important one, apart from one or two others in this cabinet. Uh, the other thing she talked about was the Iraq War intelligence, which led to the war, which was eventually found to be faulty, and it was found to be, perhaps fabricated, which led to huge number of deaths. It led to huge number of casualties as an injured. It led to a lot of economic loss, and it wasn't just a uh, event which lasted for a few days. It's been an ongoing problem there. So she talked about how she's going to fix this intelligence setup so that something like this never happens again. Finally, and the key part of this, uh, whatever she talked about, was that she stands by her Hindu identity, and there have been a lot of people calling out, "Oh, she's a Hindu," meaning she's not Christian, so she's not fit for office. And for a country like the USA, it's shameful that something like this is happening. But the fact is, she called out that she has been called names, and a lot of the opposition is bigoted, and basically because of her identity. And she said that she will continue to stand up for Hindus wherever there is an attack on Hindus or Hindu places of worship, and she's not going to back down from that. And I think one has to applaud her forthrightness in taking on all of these things in a confirmation hearing. For instance, she could have kind of taken a slightly less strident tone and got through the hearing, but she's kind of sounded the bugle, so to say. And I think if she comes into the role, I think it's going to be a major, major challenge for the Democrats or the liberal part of the government, which is most of the government, because they don't want somebody like Tulsi Gabbard overseeing every piece of intelligence that is collected across the US by all agencies. And that is the danger that Tulsi poses for everyone who's kind of, not on the Trump bandwagon, so to say. So, in my opinion, I mean, she's going to get the job, is what I understand. Of course, I'm no expert in US politics, so I could be wrong. But this was a very, very strong defense. It made some waves in India because of her Hindu identity. But even otherwise, when she stood up for running to be president in 2020, I really liked her personally, and obviously she's from a minority community in a sense, but she's white, so it's quite an interesting mix, and she comes across as very sincere, and her intention seems to be good. So let's see where this goes and whether this gets through, and we'll take it from there, and we'll come back and talk about it more. Let me know your comments and what your views are, and like this video, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and good night.